Hello, hello, IFB. Welcome to another Inner Feminine Beast interview. I just had so much fun chatting and chatting and chatting. I was like, oh my goodness, we need to start pushing record because we're having so much fun with our next guest today. Before I have her come on to the show, I am going to read you her bio so you can hear just how amazing and badass she is. So today's guest is Carden, and Anne is a 3-time published author for business and marketing success, and her latest book was #1 international bestseller. She's been featured on the affiliates of ABC, NBC, CW, and Fox, among many other media outlets. Her articles have been published in Small Business Trendsetters and Business Innovators magazine. Anne was also chosen as one of the top coaches in the world by Six Figure Coach magazine and recently inducted into the prestigious Who's Who in America and Who's Who in America for Professional Women. Through the years, Anne has educated, influenced, and impacted tens of thousands of entrepreneurs, professionals, and businesses through keynote speaking, workshops, seminars, programs, and digital platforms. Welcome to the show, Anne.
Thank you, Cynthia. It's a pleasure to be here.
I love it. I love it. I'm so happy that you are. So, I just wrapped up in September. Where's time going? September, my second anniversary of my business. And I know for you, I mean this as like a good thing. You're like an OG. I love that. You've been in the industry for 41 years. So 41 years of business, marketing, sales, and management experience. And with that, I know that you've owned 6 different companies, 5 of which that you sold. Now, we don't spend a ton of time, but I'd love to talk a little bit and share what those companies were so we kind of hear and learn a little bit more about you.
Sure. So my first company started when I left corporate. I was working in business management and I had kids and I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And I left that career, left that income. And I started looking for a way to make money. So my first business started out of my home. It basically turned into a manufacturing company in my home and I was shipping all over the world. This was over 32, 33 years ago. So before we had the internet and all the technology and everything that we have now, but I was doing creative dolls and selling those everywhere. They were even chosen to be on the cover of an international magazine. I didn't buy the cover, they were chosen. Nice. And I shipped all over, and I had a lot of women, a lot of other moms that worked for me. And so I did that business for 7 years. I also designed all of my own patterns, all of my own dolls, and sold those through pattern companies. And so that was a whole big business. And then after I made the decision to sell that and get out, I started my first health club. And I built 2 health clubs, 2 weight loss centers, wow, and did that for about a 20-year span and was able to sell all of those as well. So that's what kind of brought me into the coaching space. I worked with my first business coach when I was in my last 2 businesses. I had sold 2 of the clubs. And it was so impactful to my business. I just couldn't, coaching was just kind of coming onto the scene. I didn't even really know what she could do for me. We just didn't have everything available that we do now. And it just made such a difference. There was such value there. I thought, where have you been? Like all these years I've been, building these businesses by myself. Mm-hmm. So I realized that I wanted to kind of do that as my next step. So I started coaching small business owners. And I did that before I sold those other 2 businesses. And it really just took off and I just fell in love with it. So I knew I didn't want to be tied down. I wanted to have this mobile business and be able to travel and do all the things. And so I sold those last 2 businesses. And I've been doing this for, I think I'm going on 13 years. So wow. Definitely aging myself.
It probably feels good not having all that overhead these days too, right?
Oh my gosh.
Imagine what that room looked like where you kept all the dolls.
I know. It's so crazy. I tell that because when you work with entrepreneurs and they're online or they're coming, they're new in business, I always say to them, look, if you had, I use those brick and mortar experiences to really help them because they don't get it. That there's still costs, they're still investing, if you're going to be a business, it's not free. It's never going to be free, but we invest in different things as a coach or a consultant trying to build a business. We invest in other coaches to learn. So they're still investing. It's just in different areas. But I also use that when I see them not doing what they need to do or taking too much time off and their business isn't where it needs to be. And I also use that and say, look, if you had a business that you had to go to every day and you had to open the doors and you had to pay the electric bill and you had to pay the rent, would you be treating your business the same way? And that's a big eye opener for them usually.
Yeah, totally. And we were chatting a little bit before we got started here today, and I was sharing with you my story. And I was fired from my corporate position, and then I started my online business. Now, I was really fortunate because I already was in the online space and already in business consulting and doing sales. But we see a lot of women who are very high up in executive positions in the corporate world who then make that leap of faith and they come get started. And you and I were talking about one of the things that breaks our heart the most is when they feel like they have to constantly start low, climb that ladder, and then just leverage price increases over and over and over again, versus really understanding the value where they're at now and getting started there. It doesn't have to be that way. You have to be willing to look at it differently. And you have your impressive book. Congratulations to a #1 international best-selling book, Expert You. And so I'd love for you to share with everybody what this book is about and how it reflects to starting those women at that higher price point.
Yes, so it really is. It's about taking your expertise, your skills, your knowledge, your experience, and packaging that up and figuring out how to market that and sell that at a high level. So when you're a doctor, and you decide to go into coaching or consulting, you don't need to put yourself in a Facebook group building a membership program for $97 a month. I just want to say that. You don't, a lot of them also go down the course route. Let's create a course. What people don't realize is you have to have a lot of traffic. You have to have big audiences. You have to put a lot into advertising. And for most people, it never, and you still have to build your brand. You still have to do all the hard work and all the heavy lifting, because people aren't going to buy, they're not going to buy from someone just because you send them to a landing page. They want to know who you are. They want to know the results. And so it is just a path that for most people, they're left very disappointed. Now, I think, Cynthia, that path worked really well when people first started marketing online, right? In my opinion, it's a very old model that people are still trying to do. And I'm not saying you can't do it, but I can't tell you how many multi-million-dollar business owners I know that are selling courses and all of that, and they're not making the profit. They're just not making the money. When I work with people and they are making far more money with less revenue, but they're putting more in their bank account. They're putting more in their pocket because they don't have all the high costs of advertising. They don't even necessarily have to build big teams with the way that, I teach them to build their business. So it's about really figuring out what is that value you can bring to the market and who are the people that would value that and pay the money for it. And I've helped people come from corporate and start out with $200,000 plus packages. And most people, unless they're exposed to that, they would never even know that's possible. So so that's really what the book is all about. All that, getting those first fundamental pieces in place, and then kind of what you can do beyond that. I'm getting ready to actually add another book to the Expert in You series. And it's I haven't figured out the title yet, but it's around basically your next step. So here are your next smart moves. And this is to take them even higher.
Because that's not your only book. You have, is it 2 others as well?
I have 2 others that I wrote when I was in the small business space, and I do still work with small business clients. I still have some that have been with me for years. And I love them. So, but I wrote those books when I was in the small business space. And one of the things that I teach people is to have an expert book, have something that's relevant to what you're doing right now. So many people have books, but it's a motivational book, or it's their story, or it's something that it doesn't lead people to them for their services. So the books that I help people create, I have a partner that, we do this. We want to lead people right to their services. So it's filled with links and QR codes and things like that. Now, my book that I did isn't like that, but I do help people write those. So
So many good things that you said here. So, my husband actually said it, so I will quote him. Hi, Joey, shouting out to you. But he said, having a book, he's like, you should write a book, you should write a book. But he said, having a book really is like having the best business card. It's like, it really
It
stands out.
is.
You hand that to somebody. And what it does is
Mhm.
exactly like that. I hear people all the time that they're newer to the industry. They're like, oh, I'm going to write a book and it's going to make $1 million. I'm like, I don't know if
Mm,
JK rolling, but you need to understand what a book is. A book is an invitation for people to learn more, to make a decision about actually coming to you. It's like the launch pad. It's a segue. It's the invitation.
yes.
It's seeding the whole time. And a client win here and buy my website here. And, so if they see how this works, you're giving them the understanding that I know who you are. That's why I'm handing you this book. I know where you want to be, but here's literally this process that I'll take you through. Now you can kind of learn it a little bit on your own, but obviously when you work with me personally, we can customize it. We can guarantee that you're going to get those results. So I'm really think it's smart that you teach your clients that, and you're leading by example in doing that. So very cool. And I agree with you as well when it comes to the courses. People ask me all the time, and newer people think you need to have courses. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm very against it. And the reason is because, well, the thing is, it doesn't get results.
No, it's like 5% or 10%. It's under 10%.
Every
That get
listener here right
results.
now can be like, I guarantee if you're listening to the
Mhm.
show, be honest with yourself. Do you have a course that you purchased that you didn't even open? The answer is like, yes. Like we all can be like,
Everyone
yeah,
will say that.
yeah, especially because it was $111. It's not my nails cost more than that. Okay.
Right.
It's not a big deal. It collects virtual dust. And what happens is that $97, $111, I don't care, $9.97, it doesn't add up. And what happens is that if you aren't having people do it, then they're not getting results. And I will tell you, my whole business is based on my clients' results. My
That's
client,
right.
right? You too. Listen, everybody,
Yes,
listen, your client success is your success. It's your reputation.
that's
And
absolutely right.
you need your clients to get results because that's where your referrals come from. That's where your testimonials come from. And at the same time, that's why I'm put on this planet. That's why God has me here to help you get results. So yeah, you don't teach the courses. I'm against the courses. I know you like teaching longer programs as well to get
Yes,
clients results. So we're very much on the same page as that. So in the, you have the book, The Expert in You, but you also have the Expert in You method,
I
right?
do. I
So
do.
what
So
is
it's
that?
really my brand. That's my whole brand. So I have my podcast is Expert in You. My method is Expert in You. So it really is about the four fundamental pieces of a business. So the first thing is your suite of products. What are you going to sell? How are those priced? How are they packaged? What are the different options that you offer people? And I teach a top-down approach. So you start very, very high. That's your premium. That could be your 100K plus clients. And then from there, you have your mid-tier. So the model isn't different in the respect that you have your different levels of products. But what is very different is for my coaches and consultants that I work with, their low tier might be 25,000. Their low tier might be $15,000. And I'm talking cash. So when they bring in a new client, even on the minimum they might be making in cash is 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 25,000, depending on what they're selling. So that's their front end offer. And then from there, if they keep their clients longer, which is also something that I teach, it's a very different model because they have the cash flow to grow their business, to take their business to new levels. And for most people, one of the mistakes a lot of people make is they'll do, say, a mastermind. And I reach out to people all the time and they'll say, oh, I have a high ticket mastermind. I say 50K, 100K. Do you have that? Oh no, mine's 12K. So here's what people do. It's 12K and then they'll divide that up over 12 months. So you're only making $1,000 when you bring in a new client. So I don't teach that model at all. You bring them in high on the front end and then you keep them on the back end. So I always say, I call it your floor. So I tell my clients, we need to raise your floor. What's the minimum amount that you are going to take when you bring in a new client? And so for a lot of them, 5 would be the very minimum, unless they're really kind of brand new, and we might start around that 3,500. But even that, from what they've been taught to do, is sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, really, people are going to pay me 3,500 in cash. So, but when you bring somebody in for $15,000 or $25,000 in cash, and then you're still making money month over month with them, it changes the game for you.
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm really happy that you're talking about that because, even in my own perspective, when I got started, I always thought that you had to start with the scalable. And when you're done the scalable, then you can move up to a premium. And then when you're done the premium, you can climb
right.
further to go to luxury. But
Mhm.
we have to consider too, as, women who came from corporate, think about the education that you have, right? I've been
Oh,
to universities, I've gone to colleges as well. I have multiple degrees. Not just that, when I was a sales professional and an executive for the bourbon world, and when I was doing it for business consulting, think about how much they invested in me as a company for my
mhm.
trainings. Think about how much I studied. Look at the books on my shelf right now. I've read every single one of these, and so has your clients. Like, you need to understand, as you said, you're an expert now. How much have you
Yeah,
invested in yourself? How much time? It's not just money. Time is money in many ways,
that's
right?
right.
And so you need to understand you can start higher. And I love that you do this because, again, some people think you have to start from the bottom and work your way up. I don't know why we think this way, but really, a lot of times people who have these lower offers, the reason why they have them isn't because they started with those and got enough of them, decided to move people ahead. They said, let's start luxury. There are women out there who have a wait list to work with them for $500,000 a year, right?
Right.
The wait list. What happens is because there's so much demand and or people who are like, wow, she has clients like that. I want to work with her, but I can't. The overflow of the demand actually is what creates the lower tiers or the lower tickets. So don't think it's
True.
like you have to do these to work up. That's actually a lot harder than starting where you feel you can be, and then having that overflow of demand create the other products. So I'm so happy that you talked about that. And that's really, really cool. The other thing too, I wanted to ask you about is, I always love just hearing, because I have them, they melt my heart, a favorite client success story. Like you don't have a favorite client, I know that, but a particular story where you're
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, she went from here, like Cinderella, oh, like this was the, like, breaks my heart on my deathbed. I'm going to look back and remember this. This is why like, it's so important. She did the thing. Like, I'd love to hear a huge client win that you've had.
I mean, gosh, there's so many I could talk about, but I think the ones that I love to talk about are the ones where they were trying to get their business going. And maybe they'd been doing it for months and nothing was happening. And I think about one of my clients, Nick. So he was trying to launch this product. Now, I don't typically work with people with products,
Okay.
but he was trying to launch this product in the United States from Europe. And it was a machine that he wanted to launch to chiropractors. So he was trying to market to them and trying to sell this thing. But when I looked at everything he was doing in his marketing and even his offer, the machine was a few $1,000s, maybe $4,000. So I looked at everything he was doing and I said, this is just not going to he wanted to build $1 million business. This is not going to do it. So what we did is we really innovated, and after repackaging everything, we turned him into really a consultant. So the machine became part of his consulting. And what he basically did was start helping chiropractors add a passive income stream with this machine. So their staff could run it, they could, run it in the office. The chiropractor really didn't have to do anything because chiropractors are hands-on, right? And so they can't really scale their business without putting in more time. So this was a way to really help them, but he didn't have it packaged like that at all. And so we did all of that. We also put financing in place and everything. So we turned it into a $25,000 package that included some consulting, included some marketing pieces, all the things that they would need to launch this. And he went from zero to almost $1 million in a year. So that was a quick win. But he was a referral from a chiropractor to me that I had worked with, and he was just really struggling. And I'm like, well, I don't work with products. That's not my sweet spot. So, but when I looked at everything, I thought there's just a lot of opportunity here and it's a really cool thing. And so, so we were able to do that. So that was one. But I think the other ones that really resonate with me and that I feel really excited about are the ones where people have really struggled. And I think about one of my clients, she had struggled and gone down the low ticket path, and she was in debt. And I mean, she was ready to get out, and she reached out to me on LinkedIn. And in the first week, she had an opportunity to work with someone, and she messaged me and she said, okay, she had been charging $3,500 for a 90-day program, and she was cutting her prices. And so she messaged me and said, okay, they want my help. I'm going to charge $10K for this. And I looked at it and I said, Amy, this is a $50,000 program. So we rewrote the proposal. I walked her through the value, walked her through how to do that. She went back and she closed them for the 50, and that we had just started working together. But, those kinds of things are life-changing for people.
Yeah.
So those things mean more to me than, someone that I've worked with for a long time that gets big wins and, adds millions of dollars to their business.
Yeah, totally. That is amazing. You mentioned a word there that made me think about something. You said proposal. Now, I'll let you know, I like to do my research before I have my people come on the show. And I spent some time on your lovely website. By the way, I just want to let you know, I really do love your website. It's
Thank
so
you.
clean, so like straight to the point, but also you have, your podcast episodes on there and a blog. Your blog is short and sweet and straight to the point. And I really like the fact that you and I are the same as far as it's about working less, earning more, being super intentional. And one of the things that you mentioned on there that I think is a really good inside tip for our listeners to hear is your thoughts on proposal.
Oh, we could talk about that all day.
Can be, and how tedious they can be, and how not productive you're being while you're writing them if you don't already have the yes. So go ahead, do your riff on what you think about proposals and how time consuming it can be. So let me hear it. That's a really good blog, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. No, I help my people eliminate them if we can. And so it's one of the things, I think it is the most ridiculous thing that people want. And nothing speaks, you don't have a qualified buyer, then, oh, hey, send me a proposal. So if someone says, just send me a proposal, and you're talking to a prospect, you don't have a qualified buyer. So I really like to help consultants eliminate them. I know in some situations you can't, but if you can, and for most of the business coaches and business consultants that I work with, they can. And when they do, their business explodes. So I have two philosophies. One, if you do have to do a proposal, it should really be to give them options. So get the yes, you close the deal, and then you basically get back on a call or in a meeting with them, and you say, we're going to decide which option is going to work best. I'm going to give you a few different options. So the deal's already done, so to speak, and then it's just making that decision, getting that signature. So that is a much different process from trying to figure out, oh, gee, what do they want in the proposal? Well, let me write pages and pages and of all of this stuff. So that's one philosophy. The other thing that works really well with bigger clients is to co-create a proposal. So when you're sitting with that prospect, you want to uncover everything that your services can really help, and all the areas in a company or in a corporation that you can really help them with. So through an assessment, you can sit there and you can really co-create. And how would this work for you? And how would what would work the best? Would it be coaching? Would it be workshops? Would it be, coming in training? What kind of time do you have? And when you do that with them, they're not going to go somewhere else. You're co-creating that, and then you just can formalize it and, put it into a document, and that you can get their signature. And when you do that, they are not going to price shop. They're not going to go out and talk to 10 more people, because you're giving them everything that they want. Why would they go somewhere else? So you'll close more deals. And so, yes, I really push back on the whole proposal thing. And a lot of times, but Cynthia, here, you come from sales, so you're going to get this, and I know you're going to agree with this, but I feel like people use proposals because they're afraid to close the sale. They're afraid to get good at sales, and they're afraid to close. And so the proposal feels safe. It's like, let me go write this thing, let me email it, and then they can make a decision. So, but a lot of money gets left on the table that way.
This is what I always say. I say, where does money come from? Money comes from people. It comes from people. And people will be like, yeah, but I just got this random check in the mail. I'm like, from who? They're like, the government. I'm like, those are people. It's
those are us. That is us.
Every single time you received some kind of money, even if it seemed like random and all that, it came from someone somewhere. Okay. It comes from people, and you're not going to get very far in business. And I know this is an online business. I know we're not in person, but the thing is, it's not going to be from hiding behind a shiny website. It's not going to be behind the glittery post. You need to understand how to have a conversation. You need to understand how to express your value. You need to understand how to help people understand where they are, where they need to be, and how you're going to get them there. And as she said, not just like learn that information, type it and send it later, literally write the proposal with them if you're going to do it while you're there.
Right.
And look, we came to an agreement. This is it. Do you see it? It's literally in writing for you too. Boom, let's sign, let's go. So I
That's
love
right.
that. So smart. I knew that was gonna be a good tip for everyone to hear. So a lot of really awesome information here. And again, if you are somebody, and I love working with these women too, it's, you know, if you're looking to make that leap of faith, go from the corporate and really get started the right way with the right strategies, with the right systems and the right support, not wasting the worst thing, your time on trying to figure out on your own, you want to be considering working with Anne, right? So again, find the expert in you, charge what you're worth. You don't have to climb that ladder. You don't have to make the courses, and you can find ideal clients who want to pay you the right money now for the expertise that you have. So really good conversation today. I'm really happy that you came here.
Thank you.
Of course. Now, if anybody's interested in learning more about working with you, about, learning about you, where would you like to send them? And of course, we'll put the links below.
Well, you can either go to my website and check out, I've got lots of resources, free resources on there that walk you through my process. You can get my books, those types of things on there too. But I do always run a workshop. So I almost always have some sort of a workshop coming up, and that is at expertinyouworkshop.com. And if that is a fit for you, especially if you're in scale mode. So maybe you've been in your business and you're wanting to scale or add in high-end clients or high-end services, that would be a great thing to check out, and you can apply there. There is an application process. There's an application process for everything I do, just like I know there is for you. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to reach out to me or find me and work with me. So thank you.
You have your podcast too, Expert in You?
I do. I have my podcast, Expert in You. You can just Google it, and you can Google me. You're not going to have any trouble finding me. So that is one of the things I teach people.
SEO, baby, that's where it's at.
Yes, that's right. Make sure you are optimized and you're at the top, you're on Google and you're very visible and very relevant in the market. So
awesome. We'll make sure to include those links for our listeners. Again, I love the chemistry. There's so much like goodness here. I agree with you on so many things. I just appreciate the work that you've been doing for so many years, and I'm sure continue to do.
Thank you.
Of course. And for our listeners, until next time, acknowledge it, embrace it, see it through.